G'day folks, welcome to this summary of activity for North Africa 41 from turn 5 to 11. So we're looking at from mid-May through to the end of August. We're about to head into September. It's still summer. Here's the situation. This is where we are right now. Now, since my last report, the Axis forces advanced on Tobruk. They opted to just charge straight in, and with their massive stacks of armour, they pushed pretty much straight through this defensive line. And the key element here is the attackers get up to 30 factors, which is easy for the Axis powers to do. The defenders can have at most 15 factors. What that means is basically that an attack can get at most 2 to 1. But it's almost always, with these large attacking forces, almost always guaranteed that they'll get 30, and it's pretty easy for the defenders to get 15. So we're looking at a 2 to 1 base. To that, the Axis forces at the time could add no armour in fortified areas, but they can add their elite combined arms shift and air shift. And because the Allies were spending a lot of their resource points on fortifications out here around Sollum and elsewhere, the Axis forces at the time had more resource points to allocate to air support, and they were able to bring in more air support, which was bringing that 2 to 1 up to 3 to 1, 4 to 1 most of the time. And 4 to 1 attacks are pretty beneficial. And yeah, they made their way into Tobruk pretty easily, captured all the supplies in Tobruk, which really helped them and enabled them to push on to Bardia and Sollum and Hellfire Pass down here. Now they hit this defensive wall, and the Allies have got these fortifications, as you can see, outside of Sollum, which is here. And based on their success in Tobruk, they expected to push through here pretty quickly, but a big density of Allied forces here, instead of pushing through, they opted to circle around to the south, southeast, and try and hit from around here. This is pretty advantageous terrain for the attacker. They can push downhill across this and then straight into Buk and Sidi Barrani. That was the Axis plan. They indeed did cut off these Allied forces for a turn or two. Some of these units were out of supply briefly, but the Allies counterattacked and pushed them back. And what we've seen over the last couple of turns is a back and forth throughout this area. The Germans are attacking. The Italians pushed into Sidi Barrani. They captured Sidi Barrani, which released some South Africa, maybe New Zealander reserves, I think it was. New Zealander reserves. So released these reserves when the Axis captured Sidi Barrani. To save themselves, they then had to withdraw again, briefly found themselves surrounded, but managed to weave their way out. There are no Zoc bonds in North Africa 41, so it's feasible for units to kind of slowly tack move their way out. The Allies counterattacked down here in decent strength, pushing the Axis forces back to this ridge up here. They have tried to build some fortifications. They've succeeded here. They were pushed back out here. But the pressure remains on these Allied forces. They've been holding the Germans and Italians here now for a couple of weeks. The question is, how long can they continue to hold? They are whittling away some of these German forces. You can see some reduced units throughout this area. The Axis forces are still, when they attack, when they want to attack, they're still quite strong. The challenge for the Axis now, they brought all of their supplies that they captured down from Tobruk. They've been using those supplies. The biggest challenge for the Axis is supplies and getting supplies. They're experiencing that North African struggle of getting these MSUs across the desert and to the front. So you can see an MSU, mobile supply unit here, another one here, but that's pretty much all they have. That's a captured MSU. Okay, there's 3. So they gradually, there's this trail of supplies, and you need those supplies to launch large attacks and to get the tank shifts. So they've been held up for now for a couple of weeks due to lack of supplies. We've got a string of supplies now coming, which might fuel a renewed push in this area. The Italian infantry regiments are kind of holding the front here, not really pushing. There have been a couple of little Allied counterattacks out from here, but this is where the main, or the most important Axis effort is coming from the south here. And they're trying to cut off these defences. They don't want to hit these front on because it's very tough with the fortifications and the escarpment and the really, well, actually there's not a lot in Sollum. There's nothing in Sollum, but along this front here, they've got some decent tanks. The Matildas down here in the south. It's tough. That said, the Allies are getting stronger. They also have got Matildas here, Matildas in this stack. They've got a decent stack here. They have their defences in Mersa Matruh behind the lines over here. And yeah, there's these challenges on both sides. The Italians, as I said, they've weaved their way out from Sidi Barani and they're certainly threatening this line, but they're vulnerable to a counterattack, vulnerable to having their supply lines cut if they push further east. So this is where the Axis is focusing, this area here. They're trying to cut. And they'll have 3 more supply points, so 3 more big combats coming over probably the next turn or two. So that's where we sit. Bardia has been captured. The Italians have also built a fortification there, just in case there's a counterattack. They might try and build one into Brook as well. But there are bigger sort of contextual concerns. So the Malta convoy marker has been hovering around this area, and that is affecting Axis shipping convoys to Tripoli. They're not bothering with Benghazi. They're not doing many coastal convoys. It's dangerous. The Benghazi table is slightly more dangerous than the Tripoli table, so they've been shipping most of their units to Tripoli. They had one turn where they lost, I think it was like 4 out of 5 of the units, including both supply points that they tried to convoy over. I think that one was aimed at Benghazi. And you can see they're on 0 resource points now, so they need to reaccumulate those over the coming turns. So look, it felt like the tide was beginning to turn back towards the Allies. And I think the next 2 or 3 turns are going to be very important for the Axis. They will need to push through. Their benchmark remains 3 airfields for the next couple of turns, so they're okay with that. They have their 3 airfields, so they're not losing victory points. But really, ideally, they want to push through, break through, cut off these units quickly before the Allies can build up their forces and counterattack. So folks, as I said, it's up to turn 11. We're about to head into turn 12. We're past the halfway point for this campaign, and there'll be more to come. Thanks for watching, and take care.